Hello everyone, welcome to the Boleyn Lounge Tuesday talk show and my regular guests Mick and Budgie. How are you two guys?
Good, thank you, Jeff. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Budge.
Good evening. Yeah, nice to see you, Mick. Nice to see you, Jeff. Thank you for inviting me on again. And I would like to also just say that we are also live streaming on my channel. So if you're on my channel, you can still comment and Jeff will still see the comments. Thank you.
Nice one, Budge. Right, okay, so on with the show, and we had a good win the weekend, badly needed, and what a start to the game. Did say in the preview that we thought Phillips might have a bit of a weak tackle or poor pass in him, and sure enough, almost straight from the kickoff, that's exactly what happened. It's really poor from Phillips. He got robbed, and ball gets played through to Bowen. He drives into the box there, squares the ball across, and Antonio's exactly where he should be. And it's a pretty nice finish for him, really. And happy days. 1-0 up. Couldn't ask for a better start. And 5 minutes later, in true West Ham style, we concede the equaliser. And comes from the corner. Yeah, Guido gets beaten at the near post. And the ball comes across. Paquetá's just too weak up against Delap, gets brushed off far too easily, and he hits a good shot down to Areola's near post. But I really think Areola should do better there. It's a bit of a catalogue of errors, usual sort of West Ham story, especially back end of last season and the beginning of this so far. And next 20-25 minutes, pretty even. I thought we were doing a lot of what we've been doing recently, sort of keeping the ball a bit, knocking it along the back, and then throwing it up for Antonio or whoever to compete for. I think the difference in this game was it actually was paying off for us a little bit. We were picking up a bit of the second balls and starting to win the ball a bit higher up the pitch, and a bit like the Chelsea game. The last 10-15 minutes, I thought we really came into it. We created some really good chances, probably the best of them. Bowen's cross to Kudus, and he really should have scored, and he hits the post with his header. And then on 44 minutes, Emerson, he burst down the edge of the box. I would love to see him do what he did there much more often. Swings a beautiful cross in. Antonio meets it brilliantly as well. He's really unlucky not to score. Comes off the crossbar, and there's Kudus in front of Tommy Soucek, who's dying to put the ball away, and he leaps like a salmon and gets there first, and that's 3-1. And we're looking pretty good at this stage. That's 4 minutes into the second half. Delap has a chance at the back post with a header there, and Areola makes a really good save. Credit to him there. Don't think he had much right to save that, actually. It's a really, really good save. But from the resulting corner, with a ball he should catch, he does some kind of spectacular punch that just about clears the 18-yard box, goes out for a throw-in, and he needs to do better with stuff like that. That is a criticism of him. But we were afforded a bit more time and space as the game went on. We found a bit more time and space, probably the way Ipswich were playing. I did forget to mention that Johnson's balloon of a back pass that kind of led to the third goal. it's dreadful, really. He puts his keeper in all kinds of trouble. Antonio sees his opportunity, closes the space down. Goalkeeper takes a bit of a heavy touch, gives opportunity for Antonio to contest for the ball, and ricochets out to Bowen on the right hand side, and he just goes for the box, comes up against Calvin Phillips, who he just turns inside out far too easily from Ipswich perspective, I'm sure. But it was lovely to see Bowen cut inside and tuck the ball away beautifully there. And thereafter, the Ipswich had the Delap chance that Areola saved brilliantly. And who knows, maybe the pressure would have come on us if they'd have managed to get to 3-2. But yeah, we sort of started winning the ball a bit further up the pitch. Got a bit more time and space in the game than we have had, and we think we put it to good use. We played a bit of good football at times. And the fourth goal came from winning the ball a bit higher up the pitch as well. Antonio plays the ball into Bowen again. He drives to the box, this time to the byline, puts the ball across, and Paqueta's there from a couple of yards out just to tuck it away. And really thereafter, the game was over. We were really in control, and they started enjoying themselves, really. And, you know, there's a few tricks and flicks on show, and one thing another. And we probably could have gone on to win the game by 5 or 6. No one probably could have argued with that on the balance of play. I think, in fairness, we were definitely helped by Ipswich and some of the things that they did that really helped us onto that victory. But I don't want to take anything away from the lads, because I do think it was a good performance from West Ham as well. So Ham put in a good showing, and Ipswich probably put in one of their worst showings so far. So comes to the subs. I thought Lopetegui made good use of subs this week. You know, on 70 minutes, he took Antonio off for Soler. He was well blowing by then. Rodriguez was replaced by Alvarez. And then 83 minutes, Cresswell came on for Emerson, and Somerville for Paquetá. And on 86 minutes, we saw what we all wanted to see, what we've been itching to see. We see our Brazilian youngster come on. He got his Premier League debut, got sort of 10 minutes under his belt. And it's the perfect time to introduce a player like that, isn't it? You know, you're in control of the game. Last few minutes, big cheer from the crowd, big moment for him. And hopefully we'll get a few more chances to have moments like that in games where we can be a bit more relaxed about giving some youngsters and introducing players that don't get so many minutes. But that's kind of my summation and a lot of my views on it. So what were your views, guys? Budgie, how did you see the game? I'll just say hello to everyone in the chat, by the way, and I will come to your comments. So just bear with me.
I think your roundup was fairly concise, to be fair, mate. I mean, you know, like just one or two added little bits to go with that, really.
Is that Budge?
Sorry? Oh. I think I think the fact that Jared Bowen got 2 assists and a goal this week speaks volumes for his doubters. You know, there have been 1 or 2 of them recently. And Bowen hasn't really been on fire. But, you know, he's picked his game up. He's, as I said, got 2 assists and a goal. And I think he was well deserving of that. You know, I thought he had a great game. Emerson, that's the Emerson that I've been banging the drum for all season, last season, all this season so far. I know the kind of player Emerson is. I can see it in him. I've seen that kind of player before, you know, and just given the opportunity to do what he can do, and, you know, the results are there. I mean, what a beautiful cross into the box, as you said. And, you know, and to be fair, I think the substitutions all came at good times. I really haven't got a lot of negativity about the game at all, really. Yeah, Antonio was huffing and puffing a little bit, but yeah, pretty good.
Mick, your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I'm just cautious, as I said to you earlier when I was speaking to you when we spoke this afternoon. Just cautious that it was the right game for us at the right time, playing the championship side when we're at our low ebb, because they are a championship side and they will be going down with two other clubs. The big test is the next one, not because it's Tottenham and all the things that go with playing Tottenham, but Tottenham are a good side. So let's see if we can produce the goods in that game. Because if we don't, then we're probably going to be a bottom 7 or 8 team rather than a top 6 or 7 team. Because I don't particularly see a different style of football. All right, we had a bit more of the ball because we were playing Ipswich. That's no disrespect to Ipswich, but let's see what we do when we play a side that's not far off being the real deal, to be fair. I know they got battered second half on Sunday. I watched a lot of Tottenham this year through the European games, and obviously their coverage on Sky is quite big at the moment. They're a good side, and let's see what we're talking about in 2 weeks' time when we're sitting here. If we do well against them and don't embarrass ourselves, then I say we're going forward. So I'm not getting carried away with Saturday. Yeah, I've seen the game. As you say, you put it all together, Jeff, there. But you would still be concerned and play a team of a higher level that the lack of pace in our midfield could get showing up. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it was a good result for us. It come at the right time. If we hadn't won that game, our league position would be totally different. It'd be crisis talks right now.
That's the difference.
I've read a lot of shit this week about Lopetegui bringing in Gareth Southgate, doing this, that, and the other. The man is the West Ham manager, and he's going to need the time to do what he needs to do. So, and like I said about Moisey last year, and everyone was calling him out, you had to give him the season out and then see what happens. Yeah, we're not particularly playing. We had games under Moisey where we played like we did against Ipswich. Yeah, so there's not a massive improvement for me. It was the right team at the right time. Let's see if confidence builds from there, and if we can play better or play in that way with that much possession and that much going forward when we play a better quality side. As I said, you can't, if you watch Spurs generally, they're a top side. So, yeah, Brighton done on Sunday, and what a great game that was, by the way. Best game of the weekend. But,
I think next 3 or 4 games, I think you're right. Next 3 or 4 games are gonna. We'll see where we're at the end of that. Little spell.
The spell. He's had he's warming. He's warming the team up. He's got his ideas, but then like Harry Redknapp many years ago when he was talking about the Premier League, but he was West Ham manager at the time. He said, "You know where you are after 10 games, and it's a battle then to stay there." So, and I've always remembered that. And every time after 10 games, I watch West Ham, and we're pretty much we more or less end up pretty much where we were after 10 games, and it's true. So let's see where we are after 10 games. I wouldn't get too excited just yet. Yeah. I'm not saying we're not going to get better, but you have to, if you want to be in Europe as I'm not bothered about us being in Europe next season. What I'm bothered about is that we stay in the league. Can we win the FA Cup? Because we're already out of the League Cup. My priority would be to stay in the league in a good position, 10 and above in your first season. And if you go and win a trophy, that would be fantastic. But that's probably not going to happen. But we need to be in that top 10 and then build from there. Because it's a tough league, and there's been a lot of changes at West Ham this year, a lot. That's what I think.
Cool. I'd just like to say thanks for everyone joining us in the chat, and nice to see some of the old faces and regulars in, and nice to see some new faces as well. So please take time to give the stream a like if you'd like to, and if you enjoy the content that you see this evening and you're not a subscriber, please give us a subscribe. And I'll just go through some of your comments now, see what you're saying. We're probably a little bit behind. Barry's saying he's glad to see our team battering a team and not us getting done, but was only the Farmer boys. And I think there is sort of a general sentiment about that. As it was a good win. No one's getting carried away with it, are they?
No.
Colin says, good evening, everyone. It's a beautiful win. Tadibo with class for him. And despite Bowen's class, and he was man of the match for him, despite Bowen's heroics, have to say I was a bit nervous when they equalised. And I thought Tadibo's display was really good, actually.
He kind of answered all the hype around him to me.
Yeah, the only thing I would say,
assured in everything he did.
Yeah, I couldn't give him man of the match myself personally in a 4-1 win against what we say in a relegation stroke championship side. So I think Bowen has to get it for me, but everyone's got their own ideas,
you know.
But that's what I would say on that. But a very impressive display, and if he continues that, and if he does that at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and he does that against Man United, and so on and so forth, then he's going to get plenty of man of the matches in future.
That's the test of your real. That's the test of your real class. Is you can do it against your Ipswich or your Southamptons, and look comfortable and tidy. But when you're up against, whether we like it or not, Tottenham are big boys, and they're the type of teams you have to you have to show out against.
Oh yeah.
Ian's asking here. He says, "What's the thoughts on Areola? He's never been convinced by him. He's a good shot stopper, but not sure he has the all-round quality that's needed."
I totally disagree.
Evening, Robert.
With everything on that.
Pardon?
I completely disagree with all of that.
Go on then.
I think Areola is, with the exception of him being a good shot stopper, because he's exceptional.
He is.
I think the only thing about Areola that I would enhance if I had the opportunity to would be his vocalization and bossing the box. He doesn't do that well enough, in my opinion. Other than that, Fabianski's brilliant at it. He'll shout at his players. He'll be here, there, and everywhere in the box. You know what I mean? And whereas Areola will only be elsewhere in the box when he's got the ball. He very rarely shuts a player down. He relies on the defenders. That's one thing that I would, enhance in him. And as I said, his vocalization. He's vocal, but I don't think he's vocal enough.
He's not commanding of that box. He's never been a box commander. I agree with you. There's very few shot stoppers better than him.
Yeah.
But his distribution's not great either. I mean, I said on
He's
the
looked
show,
nervous with the ball at his feet as well.
Well, I said 2 or 3 weeks ago that I watched. We all watched the telly, watched lots of Premier League football. Yeah, and I think West Ham bought a really good goalkeeper in that Foldingham, and he does command his box. Yeah, and
he's a very different kettle of fish. I've got
kettle of fish, but I was saying he'll never get a chance because of the way the West Ham setup is they've got their 1 and 2. But
he's our third choice keeper.
Yeah, he is our third choice keeper, but I actually fancy him over the other 2. But
do you really?
Thinking, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had a couple of good displays in pre-season, didn't he? And in the cup game that he played in.
If you watch him at Sheffield United when they were getting battered, some of them games he kept them within a chance with all his good shot stopping. But he also come out to crosses from corners, got to corners, constantly vocal to his defenders. You know, I say this is all me watching it on the telly, so you know.
Yeah. I agree. I mean,
and his distribution
he was a great choice to bring in.
Yeah, but he's not. I think he's younger than the other two as well. Or he's certainly much younger than Fabianski, and I think he's a little bit younger.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that he'll grow into the number one slot. That's my.
I think he's 30, 31. He's not like a kid.
No, but you know, Fabianski's what 39 coming up.
Yeah.
39 birthday.
His last season.
You've got Areola. What's he? He's only what 27, 28, isn't he?
No, Areola's again 30, 31, isn't he?
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So there's 8 years left in him. Whether we get that 8 years or not doesn't even matter. But
I don't think you'll move forward with Areola in goal. I don't think you need. I agree with most of what you said there, but I think you need.
Areola was instrumental in us winning silverware. Instrumental.
Yeah, we're not.
All right. Well, what I'd say is
just sentimental.
Yeah, I'd say is regards Ian's point. I think I broadly agree with him. I have to say, I think he is a brilliant shot stopper, but he says about his all-round game, and we're just highlighting perhaps a couple of the weaknesses that he has in his game.
Yeah,
and
but the biggest weakness
box is one of them. And I mean,
that's a massive weakness in a keeper, not commanding.
Massive. When you see him punching that corner on Saturday instead of catching that, that's not good enough, really.
Well, not when the expectations of the supporters are there at too high a level right now for me. But, you know, it's good to expect. But I think we're still at a stage where we need this season to settle.
I think you're right there, Mick. And to be fair, you know, the players on the pitch on the day, they're not playing for themselves, or they shouldn't be. You know, they're playing for the manager and then for the club and then for us lot on the sidelines. And then, you know, further afield, us guys that watch it on TV and stuff, you know. So, you know, their first loyalty, if you like, is to the manager, you know. So, you know, but I think, you know, like with people like Areola, I think he has a loyalty to the club.
Oh, I like it. Don't get me wrong, but for me, he's not long term. We want to get. If you want, we all want. You know, I said I'm not bothered about European football next year because I want to go into a situation where you find yourself in the bottom half of the table, trying to do too much again. Yeah. Need to build that squad so it's strong enough. So when you make the changes, you can still be strong in Europe as well as in the Premier League. Like the top teams that have been in Europe for many seasons, that's what they do. We've just brought in a load of players. Some of it's not working out as well as most people like Rodriguez and Soler. They've not hit the ground running, not for me anyway. But that's not to say they won't. Yeah. But they're far off of Premier League players right now, the pair of them. So there's an instance in midfield talking about selling Alvarez today on the internet. I mean, you know, we were all sitting here only a few months ago, possibly saying he was our player of the year, and now suddenly he's not good enough. So you know, you have to take it all. And I only said 2-3 weeks ago I'd let Thomas go, but you know what? Good job he's playing him right now. To be fair, yeah. So I'll take it back, Thomas. You won't have heard me, but in case you do, he's too big to argue with. So, but yeah. So there's a lot of football issues to sort out with the squad, and I think just we need to not expect too much, but obviously we don't want to be in the bottom half of the table and looking over our shoulders every time we lose a game. That would be a good season for me, and then next season. Kick on.
Okay, Robert says Tadebo did look good. His only complaint is that he is too one-footed. Can't say I especially noticed that, but you may be right there. There's one thing I will say about Tadebo that I was pretty impressed with. I said to you earlier, Mick, in the first couple of minutes of the game, he came up against Delap and sort of shoulder to shoulder, and he bounced off of Delap. And I thought, oh, that worries me a little bit for the rest of this game. But he kind of composed himself after that little coming together and almost said, I'm not having that. You're not bullying me around. And I thought he'd done a pretty good job of marshalling Delap throughout the game.
I think that was, what you call the shark fight, the testing what, what was what, and then found that Delap's not going to be pulling on any punches or anything. And he thought, right, okay, if you're going to strong it up, I'm going to play my game.
Yeah,
and
it's good to see, though.
Great to see. That's why we like, Dawson. That's why we like Ginge. That's why we like players like, Winston Reid, because they stood up to these strikers and these attackers. And, that's what we need. We need a player that's going to stand.
So James says he honestly doesn't see a problem with our goalkeepers. We haven't had a problem there since Pelly brought in that kid that cost him his own job. Right.
He's talking about Roberto, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was he was a clown.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I think actually the depth in our goalkeepers in Areola and Fabianski is pretty good. And I think I was on another stream the other day. I think it was Keith Knight who said if you could merge the two goalkeepers, we'd have like an absolutely brilliant goalkeeper. But I've said that before. I absolutely agree with that totally. I think if you could take the best of Fabianski and the best of Areola and merge them, there'd be some goalkeeper there. But unfortunately,
there's probably only 4 goals. This is going to sound contradictory, but there's probably only 4 goalkeepers better in the league than them, right? But the problem is all them other goalkeepers are on the same level. Yeah. So if you take away the top 4 goalkeepers in the league, your Raya, the Man City goalie, the Liverpool goalie,
Edison and Alisson.
Yeah, Edison, Alisson, Raya, and dare I say it, what's the boy who went to Southampton from Arsenal? Ramsdale. Right? They're probably, someone will probably come up with another name now and say you're wrong, but they're probably the 4 top. And again, our own England #1, but he's a bit of a loony bin anyway. I'm not sure he's the greatest keeper in the world.
He's a great keeper for England, but in the
he's
Premier
brilliant
League,
for England, I have to say.
In the Premier League, he's mid-table for me.
But if you take, well, let's not bring Pickford in because I think he is exceptional when he plays for England. But if you take them 4 lads, out of the goalkeeping, then Areola certainly, and Fabianski in his time were probably on the same level as the rest of the keepers in the Premier League. But the but is, the expectations is to be in Europe, do well in Europe, do well in the league, where you have to have something better than an average goalkeeper. Yeah, and
I think we've got that though. I think we've got something better than an average goalkeeper.
Well, I'm talking about average in the Premier League. Yeah.
Well, I think if you wanted to say that the 4 best are Raya, Areola, Ramsdale, and Alisson, they would be the 4 that you would pick. Yeah. Well, I think Areola's the best of the rest, and that's not looking at it through claret and blue glasses. I'm looking at it as a football fan. I think Areola is one of the best. One of the most athletic keepers. I mean, for the size of the guy, his athleticism is right up there with like the likes of, Raya and those. He's a big guy.
Right. Okay. So I will ask. I don't know the answer to this question, and I'm not being the smart ass here, but I ask you this: who's the French #1?
I'm not sure actually.
No,
it's not him. I know, but
not him. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
he doesn't get any minutes for France.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Pickford's the England #1. Yeah, so that's all I'm saying. That there's a weakness in his game, because if he wasn't, there's then weaknesses in game.
But if he was English, do you think he would get in the England squad?
Who?
Areola.
Ahead of Pope.
Yes.
Who we got? No, I prefer Pope.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a game. That's what football's about, isn't it? It's about opinions.
We've kind of got bogged down with the goalkeeper thing, and Ian's got another question here. So I'm going to move on to Ian's question. And he says, regarding the manager, can anyone see a clear plan or style of play forming yet? It's early days, and he'd like to give him time, but he's a bit confused by him so far. So what's
what I was saying earlier? You've got to give him time, because right now, as I said, we're not playing too much differently than when Boise was here. Yeah, because if you watch them playing out from the back, they can't. Now, I don't know what they do in training, but I watch it, right? And I'm coaching kids, right? And I'm coaching kids this at the moment because they've never done it before, yeah. And I'm giving them instructions of where to be and how to do it. And I don't see a professional football team doing that, because they have 2-3 passes and give it back to our favourite goalkeeper in the world, and then he kicks it long. So you might as well kick it long in the first place. Yeah, they can't play out the back the way that Tottenham do. They can't play out the way the back Man City do. They can't play out the back the way Arsenal do. They can't play out the back the way Brighton do. Yeah, it goes in, out, boom, long. Yeah, so that's no different. You might as well pick it up, kick out of his hands, and send it down to Antonio.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the
tactic. The style is not there, but it takes time.
That's why we've got Antonio. It's essential for him to have an Antonio, perhaps when he's available, a Fulkrug in his team, because it does seem to be a bit of a go-to tactic, and we bypass the midfield a lot.
And
everyone complained. Can I add something though? Because I watched that No Tippy Tappy podcast with Sam Allardyce, and he was talking to the Dorking Wanderers captain, manager, owner, Mark White. Now, Dorking isn't very far from me; it's only about 15 miles away. But this Mark White is quite controversial, because he keeps getting called in by the FA for breaching rules about what he can and can't say, and what he does and what he can't do. Anyway, so he was talking to him, but Sam Allardyce actually made a good point. And watch your chat explode now, Jeff. He said, the point of football has always been, and it will always be, getting the ball from point A to point B and scoring goals.
Correct.
The quickest way of doing that is from the keeper to the striker. All those other players in the middle help it to happen if the ball's in those areas. If the keeper's got the ball, go for the striker. That was his attitude. We all know that. We saw that for the 3 or 4 seasons. What was it, 3 seasons he was with us? We saw it. We saw it with our own eyes.
Well, what my response to that would be, Budgie, is there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to do that. But if that's all you do, that's and nothing else, then it's a problem. There's nothing wrong with playing an opportune long ball, using it as a tactic in your games.
Yeah.
If it's all you do.
Who's done that the best for the last 7-8 seasons?
Man City.
No, Liverpool. Liverpool play long diagonal balls all the time. They put you under pressure. The difference between Liverpool and everyone else, they got the likes of Virgil van Dijk.
That's one of the things that we miss when we don't play Creswell.
Yeah.
Because I think he was one of the best at them crossfield balls.
He's one of the best passers still in the Premier League.
In the early days of us having Bowen, when them balls were coming over from Creswell to Bowen, there was quite a lot of them. You know, I've watched quite a few of the highlights reels, and there's a lot of, you know, Creswell cross ball, Bowen picks it up, does, you know, 1-2s and this and that. But, you know, the crossfield ball from Creswell was quite lost in. It kind of gets lost in the other stuff, you know.
No, but I agree 100% with that. It's like when we bought James Ward-Prowse in.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Creswell puts just as good as free kick or corners in terms of putting the ball in the right place. 100% agree with that.
And you watch in the near future, guys. You watch the balls that Aaron Wan-Bissaka starts popping around, because he ain't bad with the ball, not bad at all.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the statement what Allardyce is making, but it's the way that you do it, and Liverpool have been doing it.
And you can't have that as the only bristle in your butt.
What I'm saying is Liverpool have got that ability with Van Dijk and Trent Alexander to go boom, boom, 130-yard ball. Someone takes it down, whether it's Salah or Diaz or whoever it was in the day. You know, they take it down, and suddenly you're 30, 40 yards up the pitch. Everyone moves up. Then they're knocking the ball about. You can't put it 60 foot in the air and hope that Antonio's going to get on springs and knock it down into someone's path. But I get there is two ways of playing football.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying we should be playing
that is one of the things I like about Thomas Souček. He is one of those players that you can lob a ball up to, and one way or another, that man will battle for the ball.
Yeah, he will, but he's got to do something with it. That's the problem.
Of course, he has.
No, not just him. I'm saying everyone. You know, the balls that Liverpool play. The long start, not now, they've shortened it up, but not all the time. But the balls that Liverpool playing under Klopp, you get the team out of pressure. You had quality players taking that ball down, and then quality players surrounding the player with the ball. If you're gonna lob it up the way that Areola or Fabianski, whoever's in goal, and hope that, well, even if Antonio wins it, how many times does he put it into Bowen's path? He doesn't. He just wins it. You know what I mean? There's a difference. There's a difference. Yeah.
Oh, and
go on,
just,
sorry.
Just a little side note. Yeah. The ball to Paqueta for his goal on Saturday was outside of the left foot.
By Bowen.
Bowen,
yeah.
A lot of people would assume that it was a right-footed ball across. No, it was the outside of the left foot. And that, I mean, that was what I was trying to say earlier, Jeff, is that he is now starting to pick up his game. He's starting to try these things that he can do. He's doing them more often. He's getting a little bit more of a result out of it. I think we're going to start seeing Jarrod Bowen from last season again, you know.
Well, if you look at Bowen, I think he's like a huge confidence player, and just getting his goal and buzzing around the way he did in that game probably gives him enough confidence to play that ball and execute it.
But he likes
whereas the previous games, we haven't really been getting in those positions.
Okay, so if you take Bowen, there's been a lot of stuff about Bowen being under par, yeah? He, in my opinion, wrongly got the captaincy, yeah? And I think that has taken a mental toll on him to be like a Mark Noble, yeah? I don't think he's that kind of character. Max Kilman was captain at Wolves. And he came in, and he should have been made captain.
Ward-Prowse was captain at West Ham. Southampton, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's put a lot of, bearing in mind, these boys are all human beings. He's not long had a baby, you know.
Yeah. There's some health issues as well with one of the children.
I just think the captaincy was too much for him. I don't think he should have been captain.
It probably has weighed heavily on his shoulders.
Yeah. I just think it, and maybe talking to Nose or whatever he does.
Given the choice, though, Mick, it's a question for both of you, actually. Who would you have given the captaincy to?
Max Kilman.
Yeah, I would have probably given it to Kilman. The only question mark that would have come up probably from a lot of people is that, you know, he's just in the door, he's a new signing, does he command the respect, etc., etc.
Okay.
But I think
a good captain could have easily given it.
Sure, but I just think Lopetegui's got faith in him. He knows him. I think he could have given him the captaincy. I think he will be captain next year.
If Maguire walked through the door, you know, I'm a massive fan of his anyway, regardless of what other people think. If he'd have walked through the door, he would have been captain, you know, without a shadow of a doubt.
I'd have given it to Sojek.
Right, I've got to try and catch up with some of these comments.
Yeah.
We're going down the captaincy wormhole now after the goalkeeper one.
But you bloody started it.
Colin says, Mick is right. We cannot get carried away with the result. All right, if you're arguing about goalkeepers, then go for Pickford. So there's Colin's. That's how far behind we are. Robert says he thinks the ref played a part in the game. He let a lot go, and only one yellow card in the game proves it.
Fair comment.
Ian says he's got to agree that Pickford doesn't let England down. He's been exceptional the last couple of tournaments, but seems to be a loony in the Premier League.
He absolutely is a loony.
He is, yeah. And James says he'd put Areola above Ramsdale all day.
Again, football's opinions. I accept your opinion, don't agree with it.
And Colin's saying he thinks we should judge Loppy after the next 4 games. I definitely think after the next 4 games, we're going to have a picture of where our season's going.
But that'll be 11 games, won't it? And then you'll know, according to Harry Redknapp.
Oh, Budgie, do you want to say that? I don't know who that is. I can't say that. Mike Maignan is the French first choice keeper and plays for AC Milan. So thanks for that, Robert. But
thanks, Rob. Cheers.
Yeah, you've put us right under the test with the pronunciation there, though. And Ian says Klopp's football was breathtaking to watch, far better than Pep for him.
100% agree with that.
Yeah, I would too. I would too.
Yeah.
I would too. Money no object, and contracts, aside, I would go for Klopp at West Ham. Above anyone else, I would go for Klopp.
Yeah, he wouldn't come though.
You've got the whole world of football saying that. At any club.
Yeah. I think he's exceptional. Well, done an exceptional job with Liverpool, let's be fair.
He's an exceptional person. I've watched a couple of documentaries of him. He's just an exceptional person.
He spends a lot of his spare time at hospitals and that with young kids. And
so much stuff. He
does it all.
Around exceptional person.
I mean, Pep does his fair share, but I think Klopp's workload was very, very heavy.
But he has that. He just has that smile, that grin, that look that makes you want him to do well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Great bloke.
Former goalkeepers are generally disagreed with by non-goalkeepers.
How do you know I'm not a former keeper, James? Yeah. With this big belly, I've filmed many a goal.
Rosie says, brilliant stream, gents. Been listening in. Smash the likes, people, and sub. Lovely. Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you, Rosie.
And Colin says, yes, gentlemen, but I like the way we played under Lyle and Greenwood. But yes, it's all about getting the ball in the net, but I like it done in style. Nothing wrong with the long ball.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going back a long, long way now. And as West Ham fans, we always go back to those eras. We start talking about, the greats, the great times. But it just goes to show where we hark back to that, how starved we've been, really, because that's a very, very long time ago now.
Well, too young, Jeff, so I can't comment.
Yeah, of course you are, mate. Yeah.
But I mean, I would actually say that. I mean, I'm probably in the minority, but I think one of the most exciting times for me was under Zola. I thought our play under Zola was really exciting.
Right, so remind me, because of my
we failed miserably, but
no, remind me of who was in our team then, if you can.
Bloody hell.
Sorry, Joe, I don't want to put you on the spot there. I'm just trying to think.
Clearly, Mark Noble had already. No, he hadn't. He hadn't broken through at that time, had he? Oh God, I can't even think now.
No, it doesn't matter. It was just a thought.
I can't remember. He inherited. Was it Kirbishley's squad?
Can't remember. I'm not going to sit here and lie.
But I can't remember, to be perfectly honest, who. But I just remember that the play was like forward thinking. It was forward thinking all the time, high lines and stuff like that. I mean, yes, we were exposed quite a lot because he didn't get time to get the players in to play that system. You know, James Collins was probably in his first spell with us, maybe.
While we're reminiscing, Ian says he thought Bilic had us playing decent stuff, and that was a terrific season, I must admit. I did enjoy it.
He was there for 2 seasons, wasn't he?
The final season at the Boleyn, you mean, yeah?
The final season at the Boleyn, and then first season at he was sort of sold out, wasn't he, by the board, really?
Yeah, he was.
I think he was sacked too soon.
But he also, you know, we say things like that, but he's done nothing since of any merit.
That's true. That is very true.
But then that could be possibly, Mick, because he's had the stuffing knocked out of him.
Could be.
You know, I mean, he had the players the likes of Dimitri Payet, you know, Manuel Lanzini.
At his peak.
You know, we're talking about some very high-class players under his belt. And then he gets kiboshed, because that's what happened to him. You know, he was shafted by the board. And then subsequently, you know, kind of got shafted by the media as well a bit. But he stated his case in the media. So, I think that's kind of been settled. But, I think Bilic was a good era. And I think he, as you said, far too soon.
Well, while we've been reminiscing about some of our old managers, I thought I'd bring it back to our current manager. And as we're coming up to the international break, and it's been well publicised that he's used the most substitutions in the league, it kind of made me look into it a little bit further. I thought, I wonder what his substitution record is like. So I looked into it at Wolves as well. It's quite interesting reading. Do you guys remember the pizza incident with Lopetegui and the press conference? I sort of vaguely rang a bell with me when I was looking up at it, but it did make me smile. So I kind of made almost like a thumbnail out of it. And what he did, he came into the press conference with 3 boxes of pizza, and he gave it to the press guys and said, "This is for the clean sheet." And during that press conference, he was then asked, because he'd made 2 substitutions at half time to beat Spurs 1-0. And he was asked whether he plans his substitutes before a game or decides during it. And his response was quite interesting. It says, he said, "Football matches are like a melon. You don't know what kind of melon until you open the melon. You can have one idea in your mind, but I'm sure it will be different in all the matches. You try to react, but it depends on the melon." So, very Cantona-esque.
I'm going to say, is he Cantona in disguise?
I'm getting to like him more and more. Yeah.
We haven't really seen anything like that from Lopetegui as yet, though. But it did make me chuckle as I was looking into as researching these substitutions, and I came across that. And for us, he's made, in 7 Premiership games, he's used 35 substitutions, so 5 in every game. His earliest sub was against Chelsea on 38 minutes when he took Rodriguez off for Souček. And we all made a bit of a fuss the other week at Brentford when he pulled Emerson and Kudus at half time and one thing or another. But he's actually made half-time subs in 3 of the 7 Premier League games. It's kind of went under the radar a little bit. One was forced by injury against City. Areola was replaced by Fabianski. But in the Fulham game, he pulled Antonio and Souček at half-time, put Somerville and Paquetá on. And then the Brentford game, obviously, pulled Emerson and Kudus and put Mavropanos and Soler on. And in the Carabao Cup, he also made half-time sub. If you remember, he subbed Todibo out for Mavropanos, although Todibo was poor in that game, it must be said. And the only game he hasn't used all of his subs in was the Carabao Cup game against Liverpool, where he used 4 subs. So he likes his subs, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But so I took some excerpts from the article that covered the game, and he says Lopetegui has no problem with making quick and decisive changes. The win over Spurs is just one of several examples where Nathan Collins and Adama Traore came on at half time and helped mastermind a victory. The head coach consistently talks about the importance of the whole squad and demands a big impact from players arriving from the bench. He's a big fan of being able to bring on 5 substitutes during a game. Lopetegui was quoted as saying, "I think they prefer to be in the lineup, but they know you have more chances to change. It's not the same to change 3 players than 5. For me, it's one of the most important changes in football in years. For me, it's the right direction because you have a lot of players in your squad and a lot of matches, and you want to protect the players. You have to have this possibility to change more players in 3 windows in the match so you don't disturb the rhythm of the match. It's better," which obviously you can imagine is quoted from him in his sort of broken English as it is, as we've experienced it. So, but from the Premier League, I looked and he said the Premier League said he almost always uses his full quota of substitutes. He averages 4.9 a match and is never afraid to make early calls. In fact, the average minute of his first substitution is 46.8 minutes, which is quite an amazing stat, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
it's a massive change from a manager that didn't want to make any.
Yeah, and it shows his record at Wolves is equally strong on the substitution front. He used to use all of his subs and wasn't adverse to making half-time substitutions. There's a couple of things, though. He was Wolves manager for 23 games. And we're kind of levelling him, or sections of the fan base are levelling it at him. You're having to correct your mistakes, or you don't know your best 11 and you're experimenting, and etc. etc. So is it the fact that through 23 games he was never really sure of his best 11 at Wolves and had to chop and change and make half-time substitutions to correct his errors often? Or does he just utilise the squad and his subs really well, is a big fan of it, and takes advantage of being able to?
The big secret of making a substitution, or several substitutions for me anyway, is that you don't weaken the team. Now, going back to Budge's comment when you started that, the big change from Moisey, yeah? Whenever Moisey made a change, and you looked at the bench, he was always weakening the team, yeah? Because he always played the same 13, 14 players. So when he brings on like Sabines, who hasn't had a run out for 9 weeks or 10 weeks, he's going to weaken the side because he's not ready, yeah? where I think they play so much football now these days across the world, travelling, they're all internationals, or most of them are, that he keeps them all game fresh. Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. And I think as the season rolls on, I think we'll see the benefit of that because, players need to be playing. Yeah. And if you're playing 2-3 matches a week, we're only playing, what are we playing? I mean, probably one at the moment, to be fair. But when we were in Europe, we were playing all them matches. Yeah, wouldn't it have been good to have a manager that can bring on players, but also bring them on without weakening the side? So I think, personally, if you're swapping Soler for Thomas, for argument's sake, does that weaken the side? It's a different type of player. Probably a bad example. Rodriguez for Soler. Is there a massive difference there? No, there isn't. They both got little things that they're better at each other, but ultimately it doesn't weaken the side. He's had half hour, 35 minutes. He's had 45, 50 minutes, ready for the next game. They've had the involvement. They feel part of the team. I'm a big fan of, if you've got the players, the right players on the bench, then use them.
Yeah.
Would be my view on that.
I actually kind of applaud him for putting Mavropanos out on the right back position that time and putting Wan-Bissaka over on the left. I applauded him for doing that because it shows that, he's asking the players to be a little bit flexible, but Mavropanos had a good game in that position. So clearly, he had some kind of experience over there before, and he did what he was asked to do, I thought. And it shows that he's not weakening the side because Mavropanos was already on the pitch. He brought on Tadivo, if I remember rightly, and popped Mavropanos out and took off 2 fouls. I think that's how it went.
No,
it didn't take off
Mavropanos on. He took Emerson off, switched
that's right.
Wan-Bissaka and brought Mavropanos on.
That's right. Yeah, sorry, my mistake. Yeah,
but again, you've got players playing, and for me, you put on a good defender for another good defender. Different types, they do different things in a game, but you've not weakened your defence.
No, I agree. I thought it was good to get Cresswell on the weekend.
Yeah.
That's why I said this week. I thought he used his subs really, really well this week, and he brought Cresswell in a game that was won. I know he nearly injured his own player and all the rest of it, but it's just bad luck in it, slipping that like that. But I agree. Keep them all involved. Keep them having a few little minutes here and there. It's good stuff.
Getting
their money, eh?
Yeah, exactly. They're not sitting on the bench doing nothing.
I agree with Mick. Keeping everyone feeling a part of it. Keeping everyone with a few match minutes under their belt, so that if they really, really are required, right, to step in, they're ready, aren't they?
But if you go to Man City, the opposite end of the spectrum, where they play obviously more matches than West Ham because they're involved in more competitions, half of their team's going, I'm too tired, I'm getting injured, I'm doing. But as soon as like Rodrigo and De Bruyne, they're fit to play, and they just play, until they can't play again, and then they're off out again. So I know they're key players and fantastic top level footballers. I know all that, but we're in an age now where if you're an international, you really are travelling all over the place because you can get there so quickly. Then you're coming back. Antonio is a typical example of someone that comes back from being in Jamaica, wherever he goes. That can't play for 2 or 3 games. He looks like his legs have gone bandy. So you need players that can come in and then give him chance to recover, give him 20 minutes, blah blah blah. I mean, personally, we should ban him from playing for Jamaica, but that's another story.
Ian says, I think he really loved the club too. I think it all hit him hard, probably hasn't recovered. I'm not sure if you're talking about Zola or Bilic. You'll have to let us know, Ian. But I would imagine one of them, Bilic perhaps. James says, who puts melon on pizza worse than pineapple?
Pineapple's the best on pizza. Get out of here. Yeah, that's typical goalkeeper. That is.
It says, I'm okay with all the subs, a complete change from Moyes' static approach, but it would seem to highlight that he hasn't worked out what he wants to do or which players form his best team yet. And there's a bit of taste of both sides of it. Yeah, like I say, on the one hand, he's happy with all the subs, and he appreciates the improvement from, like we say, Moyes, and the fact that he's got better options than Moyes had, right?
Yeah, a lot better.
But from Ian's perspective, he's not sure whether he knows what his best team is.
Well, we said that earlier, didn't we, in the chat earlier? He's still finding his feet, trying to work out what's what.
Yeah, but in fairness, also, though, being devil's advocate, if you like, maybe he does know what his best 11 is, but he might not want to start his best 11 every week.
Mm-hmm.
He might go, well, actually, let's just use Lucas Paqueta as an example, right? He'd go, right, well, actually, this week we've got Ipswich. Okay, so Lucas, I want you on the bench so that if it does go tits up, I can have you on and you can change the game for me.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a very tactical bench for him.
Well, it'd be nice to think that we've got a manager that picks the personnel that he thinks that fits the opposition of the day to get the result.
And
if there's different personnel from game to game and he wants to use different players for different reasons, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, of course.
At the moment, it looks a bit like he doesn't know what's what, right? But we will see in the fullness of time, right?
I know it's all personal opinion, but I think the one player that's underused right now, and I feel sorry for him, is Somerville.
Yeah.
I think every time he's come on the pitch, he's showing me he deserves to start.
He looks bright.
Sorry, Somerville.
Somerville, yeah. Every time he comes on,
he's underused at the moment, but he might have a plan for him, and we don't know what happens in training.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know what happens in conversations, but I know that when he gets on the pitch, he plays for West Ham. He always wants. He gives 100% so far.
Yeah.
Colin's getting in early. He says he's getting his side in his Spud side. His number one side is Areola, AWB, Kilman, Tadibo, Emerson, Alvarez as a sweeper, Soler, Souček, Somerville left wing, and Kudus up front with Bowen right wing. So we'll see.
Yeah.
See what happens after the international break.
That's actually quite a good lineup, though. Regardless.
Ray says, good evening. Evening, Ray. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Ray.
James, he says, that's the whole point of having a strong squad, though, to use them. Unlike the last couple of seasons with a thin squad. We have a really strong squad, midfield in particular, which is pleasing. And I think broadly, I can't answer for you guys, but I kind of agree with that completely. It's getting players minutes. It's good.
We've got a lot of players in midfield. That I agree. I'm not sure yet with the new signings where they're up to.
But isn't it nice though?
Huh?
Isn't it nice though that he is using his subs and testing things out, Richard. And like he's not always using the same subs for the same player. He's kind of his substitutions are very well structured, in my opinion, and I think he's like what he's doing is he's, as I said, I think he's rotating his best 11 actually on the bench and like giving them half a game or like 20 minutes or whatever the case may be, just so that like when it comes to the big games like the Tottenhams, Man Cities, the Liverpools, the Newcastle, that's going to be a tough game for us this year, Newcastle.
Always is.
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
So I think what he's doing is
although we threw it away there last year, didn't we?
Before he gets to those games. Chelsea was a massive shock to him. They came at him like he was not expecting. He looked at footage of last year and stuff and got it completely wrong. He did.
That's allowed.
Yeah, he just got it wrong against Chelsea. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I liked Zola as a manager so much, was because he would try something different. He would try and play that team at their game. And I like that. I do like that. You know, that's why
the two new signings that worry me the most, it's if they're robust enough. It's not about their footballing ability. They don't have to prove that to no one. But if they're robust enough for the job, is Soler and Rodriguez. If they can come through 10, 12 matches and understand the league they're playing in, they're playing at high levels. But who was on the telly the other day? I forget now. He was managing in Spain, but he's over here. And it wasn't Lopetegui, it was someone else. And he said the thing that's killed him here, or was killing him here, he says that if you play the bottom team, it's as tough as a game as playing the top team. He says not like that in Spain. I think it was. He was one of the guys on panel, and he said that's the bit that I found the hardest. Yeah. So wherever these guys have played before, it's always like that little. I know Man City keep winning the league at the moment, but people are still competitive with them. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And he said that was the hardest thing that he found. And I think possibly Rodriguez and Soler are finding that right now. But 10, 12 games.
But you've got to also remember, though, there are teams like Man City that take a chance on players that have got no experience of this kind of league. Mm-hmm. You know, they're young lads. I mean, look at Doku, for example.
Uh-huh.
Nobody knew anything about that boy until he arrived in a light blue shirt last season. And he kind of set that. He set his
he set the Bundesliga on fire for Leverkusen, didn't he?
Yeah, but we knew very little about him until Man City got him.
I'm not saying that, but he's a kid. These two boys are experienced players. I'm just saying, I think they're just a bit of a culture shock.
Well, I would say that I know very little about Rodriguez. I know very little about him. Only what I've seen on shows like this. But I do know a little bit more about Soler, and I believe that he's got, the kahunas to last in this league.
Well, I'm not doubting that. I'm just, I am.
I like the look of Soler. I must admit, what I've seen of him so far.
What I'm saying is, I just think when I watch them, they're both.
He's not a Paqueta type of player, but
they're just off. But they're just off that little bit of, the ball's there, and they're kind of, if they're going forward, they're here, and if the ball's here, we're going back. They're just off of.
He's got a really quick footballing mind. That's what I like about him.
Yeah, but I don't think that's working quite. I don't think he's had to think as quick every week as they are right now.
Probably.
But let's be fair about one thing. Yeah, there was a big call for Gary O'Neill to be West Ham manager before him, and now look where he is.
Especially for Matthew Amret.
Although in some defence of Gary O'Neill, you've removed his defensive solidity that we are benefiting from, and his attacking ability.
Yeah.
And don't replace it, and that's like kind of ripped the heart out of. I'm not saying I haven't got other players, but So there are some circumstances that
that's what I'm saying, but criticism
out of his control.
Criticism of our new manager at this stage of the season is too early for me.
And unwarranted.
Huh?
And unwarranted.
Yes, at this moment in time, most definitely. And on that note, Jeffrey, it's 9:10, so I'm going to wish you well.
No problem.
Wish you well. Thank you to everyone that said hello and come in and made comments. Lovely to hear from you, and hopefully I can return next week, please God.
Yeah. See you later, buddy. See you next week.
Take care, mate.
Cheers, mate.
And then there were two.
Then there were two, yeah. So Ian says, absolutely right regarding Somerville, and how long have we needed a left winger for? And yeah, we definitely have. And he's been superb for us in the cameo performances that he's had so far. Yeah. And expectations are high, but what a brilliant option to be able to introduce into a game, though.
fantastic. And you know, like we've been using Paqueta and Kudos out there, which are viable options, I suppose, when you look at it in its entirety. They both got left feet, you know. So, you know, you can kind of understand the mentality as to why they've been put out there, but they're not comfortable out there, either of them. You know, Kudus likes to be out on the right, likes to cut in. That's where he's comfortable, where Bowen likes to be too. And I think Paqueta's much more comfortable working in the middle with the two wing backs. I think he likes to link up with wing backs. I think that's Paqueta's an 8. There you go. I said it. I think Paqueta's an 8 in real terms. But it's nice to know that we've got a upcoming young lad, Somerville, that is very, very comfortable in that position. He got all the plaudits from the championship last year. He was the championship player of the season, not young player of the season, player of the season. And he absolutely covered himself in fairy dust last season, in my opinion, which is why he was so attractive to West Ham. And, you know, I think Lopetegui is treating him with kid gloves a little bit, maybe just gently catchy monkey, if you know what I mean. But I think once he starts getting numbers of minutes under his belt and he starts showing what he's capable of doing, I think we've got a little diamond on our hands.
If he starts chipping in with some goals and assists when he gets these minutes, then he really will start forcing his way into the team. Then it'll be increasingly hard to leave him out. But what we've seen of him has been encouraging so far, but without actual end product. By the way, I'm not trying to be too harsh on him. I'm not saying he's had huge opportunities and loads of minutes. And I think he's looked good when we've seen him. I'm sure that will come, but when he starts producing that, then he's really trying to force his way in the team. Then it's getting harder and harder. Like I say, leave him out.
Agreed, completely.
Colin's asking, gentlemen, where in this side would you play Guilherme, given he is versatile? What would your answer to that be?
Well, the only position really that I would like to see Guilherme is in the 10 role, because he is versatile. You know, like a 10, similarly to an 8, gets himself around the pitch. He's not restricted to one area of the pitch, you know. He's a central midfielder. I'd like to see him as a central attacking midfielder. That's what I'd like to see him as. You know, one that can fly out on the left, fly out on the right, you know, run through the middle. I'd like to see whether he's got the ability to get up high in the box and, you know, use his head. You know, I'd like to see what his capabilities are fully before I commit. But at this moment in time, I think he's a central attacking midfielder, basically a 10.
Well, my answer to that would be I'd like to see him play from the bench. Personally, I think he's 18-year-old Brazilian prospect that we hope will turn into a fantastic player, but I don't think he's that fantastic player to dislodge a Paqueta, a Kudus, a Soler, a Somerville, a Bowen. So I think hopefully he's got a growing role to play in the team, and he'll get increasing amount of minutes. But personally, I think he's a support act at the moment. And maybe
you know, like
in a year or two, he can make himself a starter.
Yeah. Earlier on, I said that I felt that Soler was the perfect Paqueta replacement. Completely different players, but the perfect replacement for Paqueta, because he's capable of that quick thinking, the ball through. Similarly to Paqueta, he puts that early ball in and stuff like that. He's always looking for that tidy little through ball and stuff. Soler can do all of that. He's more. He's not as flamboyant as Paqueta is, for sure. But I think Guilherme is like the understudy to those two fellas right now. And when Paqueta does go, whether it be because he's banned or whether it be because he's been sold, I think Soler will fill that void temporarily. Because how old's Soler now? 29? 28? Something like that?
I'd have to look it up. I honestly don't know.
I'm not sure 100%, but, he's not a long-term prospect, is he? In any stretch of the
I don't think he's as old as 28 or 29, I think he's more around 26, 27 mark, but I need to check it. But what you're saying previously leads nicely into Di Canio's comment here. He says he would drop Paqueta for Soler. Paqueta's not having the greatest time at the moment, is he? And good display from the team on Saturday, a good team display on Saturday, but probably Paqueta would still be classed among the worst performers in that team display, I would say.
Yeah.
Others might disagree with me. I'm sure plenty do. And Gary J says, good afternoon to you, Budgie. Good afternoon, Gary. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon to you, sir, in the good old US of A. That's why it's afternoon for him, Jeff.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Gary. And well, we've worked our way down to the bottom of the chat. So is there anything you want to cover that we haven't covered at all before we wrap up, Budgie?
I just want to quickly, little personal thing. Gary, I really hope you enjoyed your time in the UK. Sorry that you and I didn't get to meet up, but next time you're over, please let me know when you're coming. I hope you had a good time. I hope you enjoyed the games you went to. But no, other than that, the one thing that I do want to kind of point out is that a lot of the signings that we made in the last window have started now making a name for themselves and kind of penciling their names on their positions, like Kilman. I mean, I think he's probably, first name on back four.
Yeah, I don't think he's penciled his name in. I think he's completely underlined it, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think he's kind of like heavily, in place at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think also Tadebo's fighting his way in and all.
Yeah, he's had a couple of good displays against Brentford and Ipswich, and well, we say bigger tests coming up in the coming weeks than perhaps Ipswich gave us on Saturday. So there'll be more of a measure, but the signs are good. If he carries on in that vein, it can't see Mavropanos
from
getting
what
his
I
shirt
understand of him, he thrives under pressure. So let's hope that he's one of those. One of those tough, give it everything he's got defenders.
James is saying about Guilherme that he's an exciting prospect and perhaps a natural replacement for Paqueta and Soler. The future looks rosy, and that's the whole point, I think, about
that kind of
really is
he
is the future. If he achieves in the now, that's brilliant. But he is definitely the future.
And like the fact that he gets under 21 games is great for him because that helps with his development.
Yeah,
it helps every time he wears the shirt, and makes an appearance, whether it be for under 21s or for the senior squad. That's more time under his belt. You know what I mean? In a West Ham shirt. And, sometimes I know they're not big crowds, but the under 21s crowd are really passionate. They really enjoy themselves. And he will feel the love of the West Ham crowd, and hopefully he'll grow with that. You know, that's what we want from him and for him. We want him to grow into this position. I think that's what I'm talking about.
So Budgie Gary's just saying to you, Budgie, I don't know if you see, he says he loved it. He can't wait to return, and it's already being planned. So
yes, man. Let's go. Excellent.
And a question from Ray here: who plays up front against Spurs? I think that's a really interesting question.
Well, let's hope that Füllkrug is back and that he's on fire. I want to give him a shout.
Well, I don't think Füllkrug will be back. So I think wishful thinking. And even if he is back, I'm not sure if he's ready to start. Antonio's going to come back from wherever he's coming back from on whatever day that he's going to arrive. So that's a real problem for us. And then the only other really, what we'd say, recognised striker that we've got is Danny Ings. So I think it's a real conundrum for who starts against Spurs. It's a good question. I don't have the answer right now, Ray.
Danny Ings would have been the answer.
So I'm just going to say, Ray, I don't have the answer right now. But next week, we will be doing our Spurs preview as part of our Tuesday talk show. I'll have had time to think about it, and I might have a suggestion as who's going to start up front for us.
Yeah. All I'll say is that 5 years ago, Danny Ings would have been the answer because he would have created havoc in that back line. Absolute havoc. But who knows if he's capable of it now.
Ian says, last question from him. What are we going to do about a striker? Sign another in January. Don't think we can rely on Mickey for the season. Think he's nearly done. Now, if the question is, what would I do? If I had opportunity and funds, I would sign a striker in January if I could. They're notoriously hard to find in January, but I would if I could. I don't know if West Ham are going to have the budget to do so. And I think the only way is if they ship someone out. And I'm not sure who they're going to ship out. So Ings isn't going to go.
Is a loan, isn't it?
Perhaps, but we've got 2 loans, haven't we? So I don't think we can have another loan.
True.
So you might want Ings to go, get his wages off the bill, and if you get a couple of 3 million and throw a few million at it, then
put a cheeky little bid in for Iwobi.
But Ings is not going to leave in January. If he didn't leave this summer, he's not leaving in January. He's going to wait until June and go, thank you very much, see you later. The same with Mickey, really. I can't, unless someone's going to give him a contract that he's looking for in January.
The only
and do we want to let him go? I mean, I don't think Mickey's a complete write-off. I think he's got a role to play, much like Souček. So
I think the only way he goes in January is if Notts Forest put in an offer for him. That's the only way.
And he sounds like Füllkrug injury might be a lot worse than stated previously. And I've heard similar stuff to that. So I think it's highly unlikely he's going to be anywhere near the Spurs game. And James says it'll be hard dropping Mickey after his last performance. And that's absolutely true. And I tell you what, if there was no international break, there'd be no argument for me about not playing Mickey. And he would love playing up against Spurs as well.
I think he would anyway, regardless of how long he's had off the plane. Yeah,
we'll see. Well, I think he's probably going to be the option. But the trouble is, we know what all the travelling does to him. We won't get the Mickey we've seen this Saturday. That's for sure.
Well, no, we won't. But if we get 2/3 of that for 60 minutes, like we did last week, we're going to complain. Because 2/3 of that Mickey we saw this week is, plenty good enough for the first hour of the game. And then you bring on someone like, I don't know, Ings maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you push Caduce up front.
Maybe you push Bowen up front and bring Guilherme on because we're winning by 3 goals. All right. Moving on.
Emergency signing of Lanzini, and hopefully he gets another screamer.
Moving on from fantasy world, Colin says Antonio singled out Todibo and AWB as 2 players that have come in and made a big difference. Well, I mean, obviously that's coming from the training pitch, but they've made a big difference to our team. Todibo's shown his worth now in the last couple of games, and AWB is definitely an upgrade on Sufal and offers something very different to him as well.
Yeah. And, the nice thing is that they can both be on the pitch at the same time.
And Ian just responding to James saying he can't play much more than 45 minutes. He looks knackered at that point. And no, I think he's got about an hour in him.
If he gets that 10-minute break or whatever it is.
But he's and the jet lag definitely knocks it out.
It has an effect on him. Of course it does. It does on everybody.
Gary's saying, I still don't think Ingsy is bad. He's looked all right in the last few times that he's played. I don't think anyone actually thinks Ings is bad. I think fitting Ings into the way we play. Sorry?
I think Crawley Town have just scored.
Oh, could you hear that?
Oh, mate, the whole stadium's only 250 yards away, isn't it? 300 yards away. My window's open. I can hear the crowd. It's definitely Crawley scoring.
James is saying to Ian that we have a strong squad, and we were touching on that earlier. We do have a strong squad, but I think one of the areas we do lack a bit of depth, especially with the Fulcrook injury, is in that striker position.
Yeah. And I think also we not only have we got a strong squad, but we've got a head coach, willing to bloody use it. And that's really important, Jeff. Really important.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think, I'm going to pull 2 names out of that. I think Fornals, it was too early for him to go. I think he would still be playing a major role right now. Maybe not a starter, but as an impact sub, I think Fornals should have stayed, and I think Johnson should have stayed. I've got to be honest.
Ian saying, I like the look of that Delap you were talking about earlier. Young, strong, and hungry. Yeah, he is. And one thing I'll say, I really think these are the sort of players that. This is what our scouting network. These are the players that we should be identifying for £15 million. That's what they paid for him. £15 million. You look at the other guy I like the look of. Is that Strand Larson at Wolves?
Yeah. What did they pay for him? About 11.5 or something, wasn't it?
They've paid a £3 million loan fee for him.
Oh, he's on loan, is he?
So from Celta Vigo, and I just think we should be identifying targets like that. Like we've spent the whole summer this time facing Duran, but it's like a signature of West Ham. You spend a whole summer chasing one player and don't get him. And this window, it was Duran. Overall, the window has been much, much better and much more productive than it normally is.
We've still done the same thing we still setting our sights on someone.
Right. And then missed out on perhaps a £15 million Delap. And it's no good now. Well, it's not no good now. Let's say Ipswich get relegated and we go, let's go and get that Delap. He's been on fire all season. How much does he cost you now?
35.
So
he does Premier League goals now. So
this is what the Pearl Diver's supposed to do, isn't it? This is my idea with the moniker of the Pearl Diver. I'm expecting to see the likes of
Well,
Rory
Delap
Delap
is
arriving
clearly
at the football club
looking
for
like he could be the
15
next.
million quid and going, oh, we didn't know about this kid, but any great.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll
Delap
see.
is looking like he's going to be the next generation Jamie Vardy, as it were. That's what it's looking like right now. Yeah, he's the next sensation from more or less from nowhere, if you like.
Perhaps. I mean, he's yet to do it, but he's made a great start, right?
Yeah, he's made a great start, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he looks like he could be the next one to do that. We've seen that many times in players, and like Reece Oxford being the perfect example. Yeah, he was going to be the next Bobby Moore and all this, that, and the other.
We've had plenty of those, so
DiCanio
says Antonio playing internationals this week. If so, that's him out of the Spurs game, or out of being as effective as he could be.
I don't know if he'd be completely out. If he's not fit enough to start, he'd definitely be on the bench. Anyway, good evening, Stel. Thank you for joining us, sir.
I was just about to say we've either got royalty in the house or one of those fake accounts that I've heard knocking around. But hopefully it is you, Stel, and if it is, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thank you, sir.
DiCanio says Antonio shouldn't be playing in Honduras on Wednesday night at 2 a.m. at his age. Most players are retired from international football at his age, and that is a huge problem. He's playing. Is it 2 a.m. Wednesday morning, or it's Tuesday? Sure. Yeah, Wednesday morning, 2 a.m. Wednesday morning, I think. And it doesn't do him any good.
No, but I mean, he has got 2 clear days of travel, like to get back.
Like Friday, isn't he? Late Thursday, Friday. Late Thursday. What's he in Friday?
Yeah, he'd be able to chill out on Friday.
So Stell says if Fulcrook is not back until Christmas, then I would seriously consider playing Boleyn or Kudus up front.
I agree with that. I would say Kudus over Boleyn. I think Bowen's more comfortable on the right than he is centrally. Kudus is comfortable on the ball, regardless of where he is.
Well, we've discussed this previously, Budgie, on some of our tactical boards, and if Fulcrook's going to be out for that kind of length of time, I would consider playing both of them up front in our 4-4-2 formation that we've discussed previously.
Yeah.
We know Lopetegui will use substitutes tactically and to give players minutes. So why not start that? It's like a bit different. Kudus and Bowen up front give certain defences a bit of a run around. Then they've got the option to bring an Antonio off the bench, change the formation, change the challenge. Whomever in that across that front line or across the wide positions, if one of them or the other is not performing, that's who gives way, right? And someone gets shuffled around and Antonio comes on and brings a different problem. So I'd be all for in certain games at least seeing what it'd be like with pair of them up there, and I think it'll say give defenses a different problem to think about.
Yeah.
And Stel says he's away on his holes, isn't he? I think it must be actually Stel. So Stel, thanks for coming in, mate. And Ian says Crawley have just equalised 3-3. They were 3-0 down, Budgie. So
wow. Thanks for the info, Ian.
What a comeback.
Believe it or not, he's probably in London, Ian, isn't he? Look, I'm assuming. And I'm 250 yards away from the stadium, and he knows more than I do.
And Stowe says he agrees with you about Fornals, but he doesn't agree about Johnson.
Okay, fair shout.
And so James is saying Antonio, Alvarez, Paqueta, Kudus all do long flights at international breaks. Good job, Areola didn't choose the Philippines. And Robert's just saying there as well that you've
Wimbledon as well. Wow. Massive game.
Gary says he'd like to see Kudus up top, and he feels like he'd be just as good or better than Bowen. Well, we haven't seen Kudus in a number 9 role for West Ham at all, really, have we?
No.
Briefly, I guess, in moments where the front three switched, and they did that a little bit last year. I quite liked it when they were a little bit fluid like that, I have to say. Thought it looked good at times.
It did, yeah. And, more power to David Moyes for allowing them to do it, actually, to be fair. Something's just happened. No, they missed.
Still saying he's just responding when we say he's not sure we spent the whole summer chasing one player. Okay.
No.
We signed a lot. But
for the whole of the window, we were speaking about Duran. So it kind of felt that way.
Yeah.
We know we brought lots of other players in. We know we did, and we're really happy and grateful that we did. And like we said earlier, Stel, that we feel that quite a lot of the players have embedded themselves into the team, not just into the squad. Like Aaron Wan-Bissaka being one. I think Sadibo's creeping his way into the starting 11. I think Kilman's a dead cert for a start every week. I think Soler will start cementing his place once he starts showing what he can do. So, I'm what we're saying is that there have been issues, but it's getting much better week by week.
Trodge says, thanks for joining us, Trodge. Says Johnson not good enough, but Fornals was.
Agreed. Well, yeah, I mean, I had my own opinion of Johnson, but yeah.
And he's more Alan Smith. I guess he's probably talking about Delap there, perhaps?
Maybe.
So, still saying we got almost every player we chased. I admire Stuyton for not hanging around when a club is trying to pull our pounce down, as per Villa with Duran. Well, I mean, the thing is, we kind of did hang around, though, didn't we? We kind of went back, and it depends what reports you want to believe, doesn't it? And there's any number of stories out there we offered 43 million to 35 million plus Warford and all of the other stories.
Yeah. But the thing is, Still has got a number of people that actually do give him information, which is kind of horse's mouth stuff. It's sometimes secondhand. I'm not going to say that he's an in the know because he would hate me for saying that. But Stell does get good information from good sources. Sean Whetstone, I'm sure he won't mind me, naming him. He's one of the guys. So, and he's a respected and reputed West Ham source. So, if Stell's sort of like saying that, we didn't hang about too much, I kind of would believe that. But like I said,
Stell knows that we got almost every player we chased, right?
Yeah.
If he knows that, and that all of the reports of all the other players that we chased were nonsense, and he knows that, and he knows the ones that we chased, we got.
Yeah.
I bow to his knowledge because I don't have any contacts.
Me neither.
I just absorb what I absorb through all the different sources that are accessible to all of us.
Yeah.
So if you believe everything that was said, we chased 200 players. But we didn't really, did we? And we know we didn't.
No, of course not.
So,
I mean, like a lot of people, Stell being one of them, and Gonzo and Gio and Russ and Anton, and like the guys on West Ham United Fan Football TV or Fan TV, whatever. Fan TV. Those guys, Nick and those guys, like they all, Claret and Booze, all of them have said, that because we're linked to them doesn't mean the club are interested in them.
Yeah, that's right.
Like the variant stories of, like this agent might want to get his player on the market, so he'll go, oh, West Ham are interested in him, and therefore the speculation starts and stuff like that. Now, I know there's a lot of that goes on.
Budgie, you know, I live in a little village. You've visited me here, right? The sort of place I live in, right? If I fart in my house, by the time I've walked to the pub that's 2 minutes up the road, I've shit myself, right? That's the kind of way a rumour would have perpetuate. The transfer season is much like that.
It is.
So let's just leave that there. Roger's saying it's about Delap. I'm sure he says he came from City. HH said he did. He went out on loan. I think he didn't set the world on fire at Hull last year, which is why perhaps Ipswich might be perceived to have took a bit of a punt on him. But 15 million for what is he? 21 years old, I think. Homegrown through the City Academy. Big, strong lad. It's worth a gamble, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
And James is saying Ipswich won't sell Delap in January. They'd put an 80 million price tag on to insure it. Yeah, there's no way they're letting Delap go in January. I couldn't see that.
No. I mean, he's kind of turned out really, if you like, he's starting to look like he's. I'll retract what I said earlier. He's starting to actually look like Chelsea. I mean, Ipswich version of Cole Palmer. You know, through the Man City Academy, etc., and then just gets into a club and absolutely sets the world alight.
DeCanio says it's fake, Stel. And Stel says he's definitely not fake, mate.
Yep. Sorry, I'm sticking with Stel on that one, mate. I believe him. I believe him.
And George says he wasn't here at the start, so it's probably legit. So there's a debate going on whether Stel's fake or not in the chat. Villa wanted 60 mil for Duran, changed the goalpost. So that's another rumour that's kind of going around doing the rounds, and you just don't know what to believe sometimes, do you?
No.
And still saying plays against Honduras on Wednesday morning. He'll come back knackered. This is where we have to use our squad. More than enough players not on international duty to help fill the striker void. There is.
Yeah, absolutely. Bowen being the obvious one.
Probably being the most likely.
Yeah.
Hi Lee, hi Budgie in chat. Hope as well. Come New Irons. We are massive. We're
huge.
And George says it's Ings' moment to become a legend. Maybe. Well, if he came on and took Spurs apart, he'd become an instant legend, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Like I said though, 5 years ago he would have done.
Yeah, and Stel says it's a good point, Roger. It could be Ings' time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's Roger saying Romero's had Antonio's number too often for me, and that's the thing. Antonio, he did a brilliant job the weekend. He absolutely bullied. He did, but he won't bully Romero like that.
No. It takes a slippery little fish to do that to Romero, because he don't quite know how to mark a fast little player, and you know, maybe Guilherme might be the answer.
So I'm just going. He says, and Romero has got Antonio's number too often for me in recent seasons, even if he wasn't jet lagged. And then he finishes off with the other speedy dude covering Van der Ven. He is quick, isn't he?
Yeah.
Bad news for you, Budgie, by the sound of it. It sounds like
Oh, no, man. Oh, well.
95th minute.
It is what it is, mate. Don't come from 3-0 down to 3-3 without having something about you. So fair play to them.
And Colin, obviously, we were talking about the 4-4-2 earlier, and Colin says yes, they could turn out to be McAvenny and Cotty, Bowen and Kudus.
Yeah, quite.
Wouldn't that be good if they did? And Stell says he agrees on the new players embedding into the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
James says, I'd play Ings up front before Bowen, to be honest, with Kudus on the right. Although the last time I said that, I had my nuts attachment threatened.
He's funny, isn't
he? He is funny. I've lost my place now. You done me there, George.
James.
James, yeah, sorry.
Bongo Basher, as she called him.
Yes, I think if you spend a summer chasing a player, you have to get that player. So much wasted time on a striker. If we got a striker, I think it may have been our best ever window.
We did.
And this is the sort of thing we
did get a striker, though. People are forgetting. We got Fulkrug, and he hasn't had a chance to show what he can do yet. He's only had a few minutes here and there, and he got an injury. So come on, we got a striker, and I'm not going to have it until he plays 10 games and don't get a goal or an assist. I'm not having it.
And Lee says, wasn't we speaking to that geezer who had 2 agents and we was dealing with the wrong one, or someone fucked up? That was the guy who ended up, what was his name? The young lad ended up at Brighton. Was that in January? I think Sully bottled that, didn't he? I think, because the window closed and then Brighton signed him up, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Anthony's joined us as well. Hi, Anthony. Thanks for joining. Big up to you.
Right.
He says, hope you're all well. Come on, you goners. Sorry, wrong show. And Stephen, thanks for joining us. He says. And Stell just says, oh, mate, it's all second hand and sometimes third hand. But still, probably closer to finger on the pulse than us guys, eh, Budge?
Yeah, mate. Yeah. He works on the desk at A&E, and we're not even in the ambulance crew.
So Colin says, we played the game, put up smoke screens for players we were really going after. It's a theory.
Yeah.
Maybe it's true. Who knows? And Colin says, we are actually a sleeping giant of a club for me. Just need the right people running the club. We do need the right people running the club. They are a problem. I don't come across too many West Ham fans that they're actually popular with. So I've got kind of a bit of a personal problem. I've got a personal experience. I've got a reason I hate them.
I understand where you're coming from, but let me just put it this way. With our board, at least there's something organic about it. There's something very clinical about the way Chelsea's run, something very clinical about the way Man City's run, Tottenham. There seems to be something very clinical about it. All right, okay, they are the ones that are having success. But I like the organic feel of our club. And I would look, I'm not saying I want Sullivan and co for the rest of the club's history. No, I don't. But I still want somebody that's going to be organic about it. Someone that makes mistakes.
I'd be glad to see the back of them tomorrow. I mean, not at the expense, like, for anyone, and has to be someone who's appropriate, right? I'm not saying
cool. We don't want
a wrong one. Yeah, but yeah, I'd see the back of them tomorrow. It wouldn't bother me. But anyway, that's a subject for another day, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Robert says, play 4-4-2 with Kudus and Bowen up top with Somerville and Guilherme on the wing. Speed. Not quite sure we're ready for that, but yeah, you get the sense.
Maybe not, but it does sound rather tempting.
And Ray says he wishes Musk was a hammer.
Who's Musk?
No shortage of cash then. Elon Musk.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Gary says, you've got to go. Have a nice night, everyone. Thanks for the show. Thanks for tuning in, Gary. And on that note, it's probably a good time. Unless you've got anything to add, Budgie, I've got to the bottom of the chat.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody that came in and everybody that's been here from the beginning. Thanks for your comments. Please remember to click a like on the stream. We are streaming on both Green Street Elites and on the Boleyn Lounge. So if you wouldn't mind dropping a link on both, a like on both, really would be appreciated. Thank you very much. Jeff, thank you for the invitation again.
No worries. I'm just going to deal with, I can't cut off Stell, so not royalty. So just in response to that, he says, that's the problem now. We can't choose the owners and we could end up getting the poorest Saudi prince or the shittiest Yank to run us, knowing our luck. And that is the problem. Sometimes better the devil,
Yeah, of course. Because we all know Sullivan and Co., we know the kind of deal they're going to do.
Sure.
And it will be shady, iffy, or however you want to put it. And, who knows what's going to happen to this beautiful club we love, So, yeah, you got to be careful about who buys up. But at the moment, at least we know that the club isn't going to go under the water, is it? It's not going down.
I just want to echo what you say what you said before I go, Budgie. Just thank everyone who's come into the chat, new faces and old. Really appreciate you coming in and joining in with us. Interaction's been brilliant this evening, and thank you all for your contribution. And hopefully, we'll see you guys again next week. And until then, come on, you Irons.